Brother, that's the reason the Arabs were advanced in the field of astronomy. Why? Because they read the Quran.
They read the Quran.
It's just impossible to get through these first moments here without.
Guys, when you think of the most advanced people in the world in astronomy, who do you think of? Arabs. And how did they become the leading astronomers? The Quran. No sunsets in a muddy pool.
And look at the reasoning. Look at the reasoning. He goes on. He goes on to justify this.
Because they read the Quran. The Quran has a lot of information on astronomy. So when they read the Quran, they try and do more investigation. They do more research. And that's how they come to know.
Arabs were not advanced in different fields of science because they read the Quran, and the Quran gave them lots of new information. They were vastly, first and foremost, I would say, advanced in that at a certain time, many centuries ago, because they conquered a lot of regions and a lot of cultures where science was advanced, and they took from those cultures.
Read a couple passages from the Quran real quick. So Surah 20, verse 53, he who has made for you the earth like a carpet spread out. So the earth is like a carpet spread out. Surah 71:19, and Allah has made the earth for you as a carpet spread out. Surah 88:17 through 20, do they never reflect on the camels and how they were created, the heaven, how it was raised on high, the mountains, how they were set down, the earth, how it was made flat. Tafsir Jalalain, the two Jalals, comment on that very verse, saying that the earth, how it was made flat. They comment, listen to the commentary, because this gives you the attitude of the experts in the Quran, how they were interpreting these claims of scientists. This, on a literal reading, suggests that the earth is flat, which is the opinion of most of the scholars of the revealed law, and not a sphere, as astronomers have it, even if this latter does not contradict any of the pillars of the law. Notice what they're saying. They're saying you've got the astronomers and they say one thing, but those of us who are experts in the Quran, we know they got it wrong. We'll let these guys go out and do their studies for a while, but notice there's always a conflict. There's the scholars of the Quran saying, hey, you guys are getting it wrong over there in science. And somehow Zakir Naik seems to think that reading the Quran is what made you the scientist.
See, the book of science only on one subject. In medicine, one subject only requires volumes. So if that way the Quran is, this Quran, most of the human beings, they don't like to read. Oh, such a big book.
I agree with him on one point. A lot of people don't want to read the Quran. A lot of Muslims really don't want to read the Quran. It's not because it's a very big book.
I think it's about 2/3 the size of the New Testament. So not the Bible, 2/3. Yeah. It's smaller than the New Testament. The New Testament is about a quarter of the Bible, and the Quran is smaller than that.
There is just no real incentive. Like it's not a page turner. It is not an interesting book. It is repetitive.
It's the opposite of a page turner.
Yeah. You just want to, it gets exhausting. It has all the qualities of a completely exhausting and boring book. It's repetitive. It jumps from topic to topic over and over again. It tells a story and then abruptly just cuts it off and it goes to something completely unrelated and so on.
Quran says, chapter number 42, verse number 29, that it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has created the creatures in the heavens and the earth and has placed creatures in them. The Quran says there is life beside this earth. Today science hasn't proved there is life beside this earth. Scientists say there are high possibilities that life will be there.
As long as you say it like this, the crowd will believe you.
I can't even believe it. But the Quran says Allah creating all of the creatures, all of the creation in the heaven and the earth. Does that to you sound like the Quran is describing extraterrestrial beings on different planets? Does it sound like the creations that the Quran already mentions, like the humans and the jinns and the angels? What does it sound like, David?
Yeah, it's aliens, man.
The Quran repeatedly talks about the creatures that Allah creates, humans and jinns. That is what the Quran means when it talks about the creation in the earth and the heavens.
How the world will end.
How the world will end.
It says that the sun will become big, the world will end, the mountains will fall down, the mountains will become smooth, the ocean will swell up, the world will enter into a black hole. Many hypotheses. Many of these hypotheses, not all, they match with the Quran. Quran says in Surah Qiyamah, chapter number 75, verse number 8 and 9, that the sun and the moon, they will join together.
He's talking about science. The sun and the moon are going to unite. Now, what could you possibly mean, right? Ask a scientist. When you're talking about the sun expanding and destroying everything, are there going to be people here watching it? Are there going to be people here watching this happen? Why am I saying this? Because that's what happens in the passage. Let me go. Let me go and read the passage, right? He asks, when is the day of resurrection? So I'll start in verse 6. That's something Zakir Naik has a problem with, actually reading a passage in context. Surah 75, verse 6. He asks, when is the day of resurrection? So when the sight becomes dazed, talking about people saying, when the sight becomes dazed and the moon becomes dark, some of the translations say the moon is eclipsed, and the sun and moon are brought together. Not even clear what this means because it just said eclipsed, and it, from the perspective of being on Earth, it looks like they're brought together in an eclipse. But that's not what a scientist would mean if like the sun is just blowing up and destroying everything. The sun and moon are brought together. Man shall say on that day, where did it go to? So there are going to be people watching this, guys. According to the Quran, there are going to be people there going, what happened to it? What happened to the moon? What happened to it? Notice the moon is eclipsed. And they're going, what happened to it? What happened to it? Zakir Naik is saying this is referring to a scientific theory. Are people going to be there at that point watching this? No, we would have been destroyed a long time before this.
It says that the stars will fall down and lose their luster. The mountain.
Okay, and how do you combine this with science, dear Mr. Zakir? How can the stars fall down? Where exactly do they fall? What direction do they fall in?
This passage, again, you have camels there and animals being gathered and so on. This is not what scientists are imagining this is going to be like. That we're all going to be right here on Earth, and then we look up in the sky and we see all this happening, and it's the end of the universe. That's not the scientific picture. You will be long gone when this stuff is happening, according to the scientific picture.
Chapter number 82, verse 1 and 2 and 3. Again, the ocean will swell up.
Oh, yeah.
The stars will fall down. Similar to many of the hypotheses.
No, don't leave out the camels, Zakir Naik. Leave out the camels. Notice he goes verses 1, 2, and 3, leaves out the very next verse, which is about the camels.
And he says many similar to the scientific hypotheses, which scientifically valid explanation of how things will go over the next million or billions of years actually says the stars will fall down.
And that when they fall down, you're going to be worried about your camels.
Quran speaks about jinn. Today psychologists say extraterrestrial power.
David, you took psychology courses, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Have you learned anything about these psychologists who say that these extraterrestrial powers possess humans? Is that something that psychology has meanwhile come to agree and argue?
No. He's saying it's eventually going to be that way, AP. Come on. They're eventually going to find this out. What in the world are you talking about?
No, look at it.
Today psychologists say.
Today psychologists say.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, I withdraw. Wait.
Today psychologists
say extraterrestrial power?
Yeah, today psychologists say extraterrestrial power.
Dr. Whitemeat says. Remember that he would just make people up and say Dr. Whitemeat. It's like, no one can find anyone he's talking about.
If you know about white meat, Sir Whitemeat.
Whitemeat? Who is Sir Whitemeat? For the fourth time, no trace can be found of anybody with this name.
If you're a young, narcissistic guy who's planning to go into dawah and you have half a brain, you're looking at this going, I can make up anything I want. And as long as I'm making it up in defense of Islam and to promote Islam, there are massive amounts of people out there who will shower me with praise and money for the rest of my life if I just do that.
Now you may ask me that, Brother Zakir, you gave such a good talk on science and technology.
You give such a good talk.
Why is
with
he
100%? He's bragging about it. Now, someone will say to me, Zakir Naik, you're so great at everything. You're the smartest person who's ever lived and the greatest human being in the world. Why shouldn't we elect you king? Fair point. But let me say, I mean, look at it. Someone will
That is just that's amazing. That's I don't know. That's so narcissistic. He's bragging, praising himself from someone else's hypothetical.
80% has proved to be 100% correct. Or 80% is scientific.
The problem is that the clearest scientific passages in the Quran are all wrong. You know, sun setting in a muddy pool, stars or missiles that Allah uses to shoot demons, this formed between the backbone and ribs, all of this stuff is wrong. And the stuff that they claim is scientifically accurate, you usually just have to read the passage to see what it's actually saying, or have any clue at all what science is, what the actual scientific claim is being made. And you find out that apart from some very general stuff like there is a sun and there is a moon, Muhammad gets everything wrong that he could possibly get wrong. He gets it wrong. And Zakir Naik looks at it, 100% correct. No,
100% correct.
no.
I'm actually speechless. His explanations are great.
Isn't this interesting? It's like you and I look at that and it is the most insanely idiotic nonsense we've ever heard. And all you get is praise for this in the Dawa community.